we?
I'm good.
Now, I've honestly watched you. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
You're very, very good.
Thank you.
Something I'll never be able to do.
Well, that's just what I've done all my life.
How many years has it been?
Well, I started when I was about 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot of years.
Wow, yeah. Now, you're known as many things, more than an original concert artist. You're also a spiritual teacher and mentor and an activist. Would you consider yourself as a multi-potentialist?
I haven't heard that term before. I quite like that.
Yeah, it's a nice one, isn't it?
I guess in the context of a multi-potentialist for the world around me, because I think it's important we keep the context that all of this, what we've been doing here tonight, it's all about creating better relationships in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
And people healing all the stuff that sort of trips them up from being
It's a way of connection.
Yeah, indeed. Real connection.
And speaking of connection, your first song, Set Sail After the Sun, what's that about?
Set Sail for the Sun?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I guess it's a bit of an idealistic dreamer's song, because it's about there's a part of us that is somehow bigger than all the things that happen in our life. You know, there's a part of us that keeps going through hardship. There's a part of us that sort of has a bigger picture than all the little he said, she said sort of situations. And there's a part of us that has a big view of the planet too.
Yeah.
It's part of that and even beyond. And for me, this song is about staying true to
who you are,
to that part of you. Well, not just who you are, but who you really are, which is that part that hopefully, you know, I know people have access to it, because I hear it and see it in words and music and film, but it's about being true to that part that's much bigger than all the little petty things, and that's the part that we can then contribute from.
And do you think on a deeper level you know who you are? Because I don't think at my age, I'm only 18, I definitely don't know who exactly I am yet.
Well, I don't think there's any destination that you get to. I think you cross thresholds with it.
Yeah.
And I think you cross sort of milestones with it. That's probably the best description I could give you for that answer.
For that song. Well, I absolutely loved it, and it's one that I'm definitely going to be listening to. Now, you've trained as you're going to correct me on this one because it's hard to say, a virtuoso concert violinist in Vienna. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, wow, I'm proud of myself. Now, for us who don't know exactly what that means, fill us in. What does it mean?
It just means I had a really traditional classical violin training.
Oh, wow, even when you got your gold top electric violin as well?
That all came
Still
later.
classic?
Yeah, I've got a story about that. But, all that means is that I trained, you know, here with some really good teachers, and I went to Europe and trained with some really top masters.
So you trained in Perth first?
Well, I'm from Melbourne originally.
Yeah.
I trained there, and I did a music degree there at what's a bit like WAPA. It's the Victorian College of the Arts. Now Melbourne University. They've shuffled this stuff around. But and then I went to the kind of home of a lot of classical playing, you know, Vienna in Austria. It's where Mozart and Beethoven and a lot of those composers hung out and lived and wrote their music and performed their music. So it's kind of got this huge tradition. It's like a mecca for classical music.
Was that very inspiring? I can imagine.
It was very intense and very inspiring for that phase of my life, which was all about classical opera and orchestras and all the training I had there with some incredible teachers.
Well, speaking of incredible experiences you've had, you've spent 2 decades working with stars like the Beatles and Olivia Newton-John. Were you ever starstruck?
Well, just to correct that, I worked with the Beatles producer, Sir George Martin.
You know what? Even better.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. I often get asked this, and you know, the thing I remember the most about those encounters were the generosity of those people and how they touched people's lives wherever they went. And that is the biggest thing I got from it. Their musicianship was huge, and I got a lot from that. But the thing that I really remember all my life more than that is the way that they were. They were generous people, and that's what they did. they gave a lot.
That's the thing, you've got to give to get, and it's one of those situations where it's connecting with people.
I don't think they even cared about getting. I think they just had so much to give that just flowed out like an ocean.
I wish I had a lot to give. I'd be giving if I had a lot to give as well. But now, very exciting things are happening.
You might be overlooking some things about yourself there.
You know what? I feel like I might be as well.
You might be. Yeah. We can have a chat
Yeah.
about that when I interview.
That's on a deep level, a one-on-one, I think.
Yeah.
Now, very exciting things are happening this month. Now, after 30 years, you're collaborating with Valanga.
Yeah, Valanga Closer.
Yes, again, for the Song of the Future. And you're both very gifted musicians from such different backgrounds. Now, what will that sound like?
Well, you'll have to use your imagination because we're still putting it together in the weeks leading up to it. And,
that's so exciting.
But Valanga grew up, his school was 30 kids sitting under a tree in the dirt.
Wow.
And his first musical instruments were pieces of tin and sticks and inner tubes from car tyres cut up and nailed to a wall so he could pluck.
Wow. Will we be seeing any of those instruments in this?
Well, you'll be seeing that influence. He has those little thumb pianos, those little kalimbas.
Oh, wow.
And he brings his guitar and sings as well, and he does all the traditional songs and all the click singing and all that, which is pretty amazing. So he kind of brings that indigenous South African folk tradition of music. They're his own songs that he'll be doing, but they're very much in that idiom of sound. And then my thing is the classical folky blues, but from a Western perspective.